I think it's real important that the kids not only be ready physically and be able to handle the workload, which is probably the part that I thought was the most important, but I think it's also there needs to be a degree of self-reliance. Even simple things, being able to follow a more complicated set and stay on task with the pace clock and pay attention to what they're doing and be vested in what they're doing. But also if we travel and be able to take care of themselves in terms of simple things like hydration and nutrition and things like that. Thinking back to someone like Elizabeth Beisel, she was in the senior group at age 12 and was swimming with me at age 13, and she really had a lot of that stuff handled by that point. She had that level of maturity. She knew about nutrition, she knew about hydration. She was very vested in her own swimming, so she could really follow a complicated set. But if she hadn't been at that point, even though she was able to physically handle the workload, it probably wouldn't have been the right time to move her up. If you've got a situation where you really think that athlete has a chance to do something, I think there's some very important things. One, I think you do whatever you can and whatever it takes for that athlete. In a sense, I feel like you owe it to that athlete. If they're gonna make the commitment, I think the coaches have to make the commitment, and it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. It's going to take away from other things that are valuable as well, whether it be maybe family and other things. But you really want to get everyone together about what you're trying to do. But it's a lot of work. It's not an easy thing that happens overnight. I think one thing that is really important is that you especially with a young athlete, that there's really a very good communication with the parents and the athlete and the coaches, and it's got to go both ways. I mean, the coach can't just surprise the family with different things, and vice versa. The family has to be very comfortable communicating with the coach. With this day and age and how we label kids as the next Michael Phelps and all these different things, I think that can be very damaging to a kid when they get those kinds of accolades at an early age, and then they kind of hit their first obstacle, and things can really fall apart. And so I think it's really important that the coaches be aware of that and really help guide that process, so that at no one point does that athlete think they've already made the Olympic team. At the same time, you want them to be confident and feel good about what they've accomplished and what they're working towards, but you have to keep it in perspective. I've had kids that, the second you tell them that they've done such a fantastic job and you have so much confidence in them that they're going to perform and do these great things, that in and of itself kind of creates the choke, and they kind of feel the pressure and they don't want to let you down. Whereas other athletes, you tell them that and they light the world on fire. I think we do a pretty good job when we get to nationals and we kind of have team meetings, and sometimes you can speak to the athlete you really want to talk to by talking to the group, and they don't really feel the pressure that you're really specifically talking to them. I think one of the things that we do that is really more out of necessity, for example, right now I've got 8 kids at a 2-week training camp in Sarasota, Florida, which means all of those 8 kids are having to take a week off from school, and that's not a real easy thing to do. So that it's a communication process with them and their parents and their teachers from September, saying, hey, we're gonna do this in April, and it's really important, and this is why we need to do this. I guess I'll use Elizabeth. She's certainly the most well-known. The morning swim of Olympic trials, she had a fantastic swim, and it became crystal clear to me that she was ready to go. And before the final, she for the first time I'd ever experienced, was a wreck, completely nervous. She was sitting in the stands with some of her teammates, and one in particular who was a very good friend. They had a real teasing, kind of jibing each other kind of relationship, and once she was showing she was almost a wreck, I called upon him to just really start giving her a hard time about all kinds of things, and that brought her back and relaxed her, and she did awesome.